back on another week of this podcast. Today is Friday, March 19th, and I have a good variety of things to talk about today, so I'm just going to jump into it. I wanted to start with addressing what I'm wearing. This is my Red Deer tee by Woodland Creature Crochet on Instagram. I made it with a cotton yarn. I tested the pattern about a year ago now, and it has this really cute sleeve edging. It has some lace details on the front and back panels that you cannot see in the video currently, but I will be sure to insert a photo. And then it also has fringe on the back panel. I'm wearing it because it is bright and super comfy, and I love the fit on it, and thought that I would show it some love today on the video. So that's that. You may have also noticed the change in scenery behind me. I made a commitment in my last video to finally update my decor, so it is no longer the Autumn Rhapsody blanket. I have changed it to be my Spring Rhapsody blanket with super bright florally colors. I also tested this blanket, and so that will be my background for the next little while, I guess. So, embracing all things springy and warm and sunny today. So, starting with FOs, I'm going to start with the smaller one first, but I finished this handheld device case that I made for my husband. It's a Pokeball. He is already using it, so he has his stuff in it, but it's a kind of a square shape case that is designed to look like a Pokeball. I made the button out of polymer clay and resin, and then attached it to the front. The flap is intended to follow the line so that it doesn't break the image of the Pokeball, and for the most part it works, but I really don't like how my straight lines do not look like straight lines here, so not sure how to fix it, but he said he was okay with how it looked, and I just let it slide because I wanted to wrap it up. So that is my Pokeball handheld device case. And I only have 2 FOs today, but the one is a pretty big deal because it is officially done. I just have to take final photos of it this weekend. It is my Adventure Wrap by Amba O'Brien. So you've seen this for 2 months or so now. It took me about 2.5 months to finish it. And it was made with my 2020 Hogwarts Year 4 Advent Calendar by Dragon Horde Yarn and Yarn Cafe Creations. It was done with 24 mini skeins and a bit from my 25th 100 gram skein. So this is a 25 color wrap. It is very long. I think it's about as long as I am tall. It also ended up, I didn't check gauge when I made this, but it also ended up being wider than what the pattern called for, which is totally fine by me. It blocked beautifully. I wove my ends in. In fact, I just finished weaving ends this morning. And now I just have to take some photos, and it is officially done. My very first Advent project. So I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I'm wondering if I should delay the publication of this video so that I can put in some photos of the wrap, since I can't really show its true glory on the video here. Just not enough space. So maybe I'll do that so that you can see it all, hopefully. I haven't fully figured out how I'm going to do the photos for it yet, but The idea is to get most of it in the photo at once. So I'm very excited to have that done. It was a really easy pattern to do, but it'll be good to have it off of my needles, and it is also my second Make 9 project done for the year. So that means I have 7 left. I think I also forgot to mention that I just whipped this up. I didn't follow a pattern. I just kind of did some color blocking and planned it out accordingly. So those are my FOs. And I have plenty of whips. In fact, I held back some whips today because I didn't want to go too crazy with my video. But I'm going to start with my next Make 9 project. I'm just rolling right into the next one. It is the Tulip Wrap Tank by Knititude. And right now it is in my super cute Harry Potter project bag by Lila Stiles. This print is super fun and bright, and I just love the style of it, so had to get it. For the Tulip Wrap Tank, I already actually, this project is working up super nicely. I already have show it the right way. The first panel is done. I'm using True line brand yarn in the color mauve, and it's a DK weight, super soft. Like, I'm obsessed with how this fabric drapes. That's part of the reason why I'm working through it as fast as I can, because I just love, I mean, I don't know if I can really show it, but it's just so like, it's like liquid. It's just so smooth and beautiful. I cast on my other front panel. I've been doing way too much knitting and crocheting. My hands are quite sore, so I've been trying to back off a little bit this week because I think I started and finished this last week, which for me is insane. Also, this is not even one full ball of True. I'm doing the 1X size, and I know it's a tank top, so there's, you know, and it's a half panel. But I was still pretty amazed. I couldn't believe how far I'd gotten on one ball of True. I mean, they're not gigantic skeins. It's this tiny little thing. And I got all of this out of it. Plus, I'm still on the first skein, plus this so far, and I still have a little bit left. So, pretty excited about that. Just tucking this back in here. And my next one is an update on my other advent. It is the Jimmy Bean's craft vent that I'm working with my mom on. The cinnamon sugar one is the colorway that I got from the craft vent. It is the Tidings to You wrap by Amy Gunderson. And we officially started our third color. I think I was still in this other color on the last podcast. So we're in this next color. It's this beautiful orange, golden orange color. And it's gonna be another short section like this purple down here. So I think we're about halfway through this, and then we'll have another ribbing, and then it'll be on to the next color, on to the next lace section. Really loving how it's working up. I think I'm about like 14 inches in. It's gonna be a rectangular wrap once it's done. It's just the way it's kind of curling up right now. It doesn't look super rectangular, but it is, I promise. When I hold it down flat, it is rectangular. Lots of new lace work that I'm learning. My mom prefers crocheting over knitting, so she's learning a lot. And we've been Zooming every Saturday to get working through this. We're making progress. So that is still a whip. And because I realized I was doing so much knitting, like I have so much knitting going on right now. I missed having a crochet project. So I foolishly dove into I have 3 tops in my Make 9 that are like spring summery. So I organized them to be about this time of year, getting started on them. So my Tulip wrap tank is the first one. And then I also decided to start my turn tunic dress made by Haley Bailey. So I'm not very far in, but I did actually start this last night. I just started this last night because I gauged it the night before. It's this really pretty peach color. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I keep dropping it. I'm not gonna try and hold the whole thing, I'll just do this. So it's this really pretty stitch pattern. I'm using, of course doesn't have the label, but it is Premier yarn, Premier cotton yarn, Premier yarn, and the color's coral. It's a weight 2 yarn. So it's right in between the 2 weights that she uses in her pattern, but I figured I'd get gauge and that would be fine. I had a little bit of this on hand that I was buying because last year I decided to buy a whole bunch of cotton and different weights of yarn to play with and have on hand. And I didn't have enough for the turn tunic dress, but because I'd already had something that I wanted to kind of use up in my stash, I just filled in what else I needed and then got to work. So my gauge actually ended up being, I think I ended up going with the Drapier gauge that was in line with the fingering weight gauge, I think. I think that's what I ended up doing. Interestingly enough, when I blocked this swatch, the swatch that I made for this yarn, did not change size. It stayed the same. So I've heard that cotton stretches, so I'm trying to keep that in mind. And I'll probably take that into account for the length that I make this dress, because the other dress actually made by Haley Bailey too, that did stretch, and it was acrylic, it wasn't even cotton, but it stretched enough that I think I want to try and make a little shorter in places to try and get ahead of that stretching. So not so much with blocking, but with gravity, it'll all kind of stretch out. So I'm really excited about the color. I hope it doesn't get lost on me because it's fairly close to my skin tone, but I just love peachy tones so much right now that I'm doing it. And I have one ball of gray, like a light gray silver in this, that I'm planning to do like the edging of the sleeves and maybe the neckline. I haven't decided that yet, just to kind of give the edges, like where it's going to sit on my arm, some pops of color against my skin. I'll probably wear this over leggings and a tank top just because it's a lacier fabric, so it's very see-through. So I'm not really worried about it blending like over here because I'll have something underneath, but it's mainly like on my arms and across here that I think that gray will just help it stand out a little more. So happy with that so far. I'm gonna make it as the dress and not the tunic top because I think it would be really pretty as a dress, and I only have one other crochet dress. So that has been on my list for a while now. In fact, it's probably been about a year now since I had it, and I had bought yarn for it, and then I used that yarn for the other dress that I made. So that, I'm glad, is finally well underway. And then I have one more whip to share, but I'm going to preface with it being that I'm going to show it today and then it's probably going to get put away for a while, and I'll explain why after I show it. It is my Sock Scraps Granny Stripe Blanket by Layla McCullough, and it is what I was putting the rest of my minis from my Dragon Horde Advent project into, because I didn't use the full mini skeins. So I have all my Harry Potter colors from my advent here, and it ends. I didn't add my 25th color, I'll say that, because I didn't want to use, like, I'm gonna make socks with the rest of that full skein. I wanted to use it in my wrap here, that gold color. So I just used about 13 grams, I think, and then the rest of it I'm gonna pair with black fingering weight yarn and make some fun, I already picked out the pattern, some fun Hufflepuff themed socks, since that is the yarn Hufflepuff. So the last Harry Potter color that is in my scrap blanket is this red, I think it's Durmstrang. I think that's the name of the school. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. So that color is right here, this reddish kind of grayish. And then what I did, so everything up to this point is Harry Potter from the advent, and then this is the rest of my fingering weight scrap from my party punch shawl. This is the yarn that I speckled myself with the main knit crate from last year, where it was dye your own yarn, and I thought that would make for a nice separator, kind of like a neutral color between Harry Potter and my next group, which is what I had left of my 5 mini skein Moana set from Bad Wolf Girl Knits and Sits. So I had just a little bit left of some of the colors and a little more left of some of the others, and I just put everything I had left because they honestly, I wasn't sure what to do with them because I made socks yeah, with everything basically. I made some striping socks and I just had little bits, like I think I had 8 grams, just about the same as I had left of the other colors. That's what I had left of the Moana colors, and I was like, this is perfect. I can just throw it in here and it'll get used up and be in a really pretty scrappy blanket. So those here and up are my Moana minis, and I fully plan on using all of the minis that come out of my Jamie Beans wrap because it's also fingering weight. That will go into this blanket as well, but I decided I'm gonna put this away for now, and I'm not gonna add, I don't know, with the wrap I'm worried that I'm gonna need some of the colors. You get more than one ball of yarn, and I always worry about having enough. So like with my Harry Potter one, once I was done with this section, I knew I wasn't gonna need that color anymore, so I just put it into this scrap. But the other one, just in case I need more of this orangey color later on when it's used again, even though there's another ball, I want to play it safe. So I decided the Jimmy Beans one probably won't be added until I'm done with the Jimmy Beans project. And that probably won't be for a while, just because we're only doing it here and there when we can. So I'm gonna fold this one up, and I'm gonna put it in a bag for now and just let it do its thing. I do have all of my colors updated in my Ravelry page, as well as the grams that I used. I didn't calculate yards for it, so I just did the grams, but it's all fingering weight yarn, and it's more for the sake of record keeping, I guess, than anything else. So it's my cute little scrappy blanket. I love it. Even mixing in other yarns that aren't themed, like these, even though they're all very bright and different colored, it's still there's still some coordination with the Harry Potter colors. Like they still all go together. But I'm pleased that I still like it even with adding another collection. So that is getting put away. So that's my whips, but I did want to bring in a mail section this week because I have a few things that kind of collided and arrived all at the same time, and I wanted to share them with you. So firstly, I have this really gorgeous skein of fingering weight yarn from Chemnitz Creations. I have been following Chemnitz since I learned about their channel with the Knit Crate box last year, where I was pretty new into the indie dye world anyway. But then finding someone who like does tutorials on how you can use Kool-Aid to dye yarn, I just got lost in all of the tutorials her channel has. So this is actually my first skein purchase. I did get a mystery package last summer from her, but this was from the January 2021 Chemnitz dye along, where she did, I think it was one of the inspiration photos. She does a series where she takes an inspiration photo and dyes a whole bunch of different yarns based around that photo, and this was like a sparkler that was lit up at night, so it had like lots of golds and oranges and yellows and then darker like blues and blacks. Oh, let me get that tag out of there. And this is the skein that she was inspired to create from that image, and I just think it's so pretty. I don't know what it is about yellows and pinks, but I am all in that boat of colors right now, and you'll see in a minute too. I purchased yarn that anyway, I'll talk about it then. But anyway, so lots of neon. There's lots of neon colors too from like the different sparkler bits. You know, when you're burning things, they can give off these beautiful bright colors, and so that's reflected in the skein here. And I haven't picked out a pattern for it yet, but I figured it would make for some really pretty socks. It's really soft too. So anyways, Chemnitz. And then my second individual yarn purchase is from Hickory Lane Fiber Co. I've purchased her yarn before. I've purchased this colorway before, but she brought back, it's still my favorite color of all time. Kangaroo Sky was a fundraiser that she did last February, I think, to raise money for the fire damage that was happening in Australia. She pulled like this inspiration photo of like a sunset and created this colorway, and I fell in love with it. I made a top out of DK weight yarn that I love. It's my favorite top, and when she brought the colorway back, I think earlier this year, I decided I was going to buy some fingering weight yarn and make like a decorative shawl that I thought would be really pretty hung up for like basically just wall decor, because I freaking love this color so much. I'm obsessed. I tell her every time how much I love this color. She's probably tired of hearing about it, but there's something about the color, the tones, and like, I don't even have words. So I plan on doing that with this skein of yarn and just literally pinning it up on my wall so I can look at this yarn all the time. That's what I'm gonna do. So anyway, next up, I wanted to share the Rose City Yarn Crawl is usually an in-person event in Portland, Oregon. And this was the first year I'd heard about it, because again, it was about a year ago that I more seriously entered the yarn scene and the local yarn shop scene. And I am about 6-7 hours away from Portland, and it's probably not something I would go to anyway, even if it was in person, just because I don't like traveling that far unless I really have to. But they did it online this year because of COVID, and they also extended it, so it was like 10 days instead of a weekend, and you could shop through like 8 different shops that are in Portland, and they had all of their stuff online. And because I'd had a year perusing and getting to know different indie dyers, there were a lot of names that I recognized that were having trug shows at these events, and I thought that was super cool. So first up, I did a little purchasing just to support the yarn crawl and be a part of it because I thought it would be fun. I had never done one before, and the first one that I did, I purchased this from Naughty Lamb, and it is made by Haley Bailey. It is this beautiful, let me make sure I'm holding this right. It is her Cloud Bulky base on the Color Meadow. It's single ply with 76 yards. And I'm obsessed with all things single ply right now, so. And again, it's these pinky, orangey, yellowy tones that I just can't get enough of. And I think I'm gonna make a cowl with this. There's gonna be lots of texture to really let these colors do their thing because they're beautiful. I love her little label. So, super bulky. Very excited. This is probably not going to be something I make anytime soon, just because we are starting to hit spring and it is getting a little warmer out. But I thought it'd be a fun way to bring springtime happiness into a drearier season by making something warm and soft and cozy. And I couldn't resist, so snatched those two up. The other place I purchased from is Chemnitz, and I got, okay, let me do this right. I'll show this one first because I'm already using it, but I won't show you what's inside yet. This was the event's logo for this year, and they had these bags as part of their swag set, Rose City Yarn Crawl 2021, and I just thought this little sunset with like yarn was super cute. I guess it could be a sunrise too. Probably a sunrise. But anyway, so I couldn't resist. It's a drawstring bag. It has yarn in it currently, so it'll get lots of good use. In fact, it has a lot of yarn in it currently. So that was the swag that I purchased from their shop. And then the yarn that I purchased is, so I got one skein. This was an exclusive colorway apparently that was dyed for Close Knits for the event itself from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. And this is the color Moonshine on Alberta Street. It's a fingering weight. Gee, do the colors in this look familiar at all? I kid you not, I have a problem. Pinks, yellows, and because the name of this yarn and the color of this yarn paired well with this, so I got this one too. It's also fingering weight. But look at this, the name of the company is Earl Grey Fiber Company, and I don't think this one, yeah, this one's just called Sweater Weather, it's a beautiful color. But what I could not get enough of was this shop has yarn colorways named after like teas and things, and like even the bases I think have to do with teas. I can't remember what some of the other ones are, but just like I know Earl Grey is a tea, but I just think like taking that across the brand in every way you can is so cute. So I couldn't resist. I was bad and bought these two without a plan, but I figured that they could go into something together because they work so well together. And honestly, I realized today while I was pulling all of these out, like, I have a problem. Like, I grabbed all of these and I was just shaking my head because I clearly have a color range right now. So anyway, that is where I'm gonna leave it off today. I hope you have a great weekend, because I think I'll be uploading this over the weekend. And yeah, take it easy. We're 1 year into the pandemic, and I just had my 1 year work at home anniversary, and that's been a little difficult, but we're here, and sometimes that's all you can ask for.